Okay, so I'm not going to start out with one of those disclaimers where the writer assures you that what you're reading is true. It really doesn't matter if you believe this. No one does. I just want to write it down before I convince myself that it wasn't real, in case there is someone out there who will take me seriously. I started college this fall at a university a couple of states away from where my parents live, and it went pretty much how it does for most people, I think. I missed my old friends and even my parents after a little while, but I settled in quickly and focused hard on my classes. I have two older brothers. One is a lawyer, and the other in law school. Both were top of all of their classes in college and earned enough scholarship money that they practically put themselves through school. As the youngest and only sister, I've always had high standards to live up to, and I would be damned if I was going to be the one sibling that was just average. So I got a job on campus to save up for grad school, and I committed myself to getting straight A's. So, as you can imagine, I didn't sleep much. I got used to pulling all-nighters on essays and lab reports at least once a week. My roommate got used to waking up at 5:30, she worked the opening shift at a cafe near campus, to see me staring blearily at my laptop, putting the finishing touches on some assignment or other in my clothes from the day before. Now, my staying up all night wasn't too much of a problem for my roommate. She kept the lights on at night anyway. Our dorm was supposedly haunted, and a lot of the girls got freaked out at night. Some guy, an upperclassman, told me about it at a party during my first couple of weeks there. "Oh yeah, I remember hearing about that. Some girl who lived there killed herself in the showers last year," he explained. Like, took the blades out of a disposable razor and cut herself up. And not just her wrists. I heard she sliced herself open all the way up her arms and legs. Massive freaking gashes from her thighs to her feet. I heard there was an inch of blood covering the whole shower room floor. But they never found the blade she used. At this point, his drunk friend chimed in. "Yeah, that's 'cause her freaking ghost has them, so make sure you don't see her while you're in the shower or she'll chop you up." I didn't make much of it. For one thing, the more sober one kept trying to put his hand on my leg, and I had a feeling that he was hoping I would be so scared that I wouldn't want to sleep in my dorm that night, and decided to follow him to his. For another thing, the blades in the disposable razor are sharp, but they're pretty small, so I was fairly sure they couldn't get that much blood out of someone. And if that part was BS, then chances were most of it was. I knew the basis was real though, the suicide that is. A bunch of my floor mates pestered our RA into telling us what happened, since she had lived in the same building the year before. The kid who found the body had dropped out, understandably traumatized, and the school officials didn't tell the students many details, so what she was able to tell us was this. There was a suicide, it was in the shower room, and there was definitely blood, though I still didn't buy that there was a whole inch. Either way, the dorm staff decided not to house anybody on the third floor, where the suicide happened. After that year, so the third floor shower room was always still dark and empty. People would get dared to spend a night in there or try to do stuff with Ouija boards, but no one was dumb enough to actually try showering there. Except for me. But to my credit, it wasn't some stupid dare. It was finals week of my second semester, and I was even busier with homework than usual. Luckily, the next day was the last day of school, and all I had to do was turn in an essay for one class. I had stayed up all night to finish it and had only gotten a couple of hours of sleep the night before. And because caffeine can only get you through so much, it was getting hard to stay awake. But I needed a good grade on this paper, and part of me wanted to see how far I could push myself before I mentally collapsed. At one point, I caught myself snoozing at my desk, my chin propped up against my hand for about the fifth time. I glanced at my alarm clock, then at my laptop screen. It was 5 a.m. That left a good 4 hours until my class started, and all I had to do now was write a few conclusionary sentences and proofread. Well, a short break wouldn't kill me, I decided, and I needed to shower anyway, so I threw my bathrobe and grabbed a towel and the little basket I had where I had my shower stuff. I shut the door behind me quietly so as not to wake my roommate. She only had half an hour or so before she had to be up for work. When I got to my floor shower room, I was unsurprised to hear one of the showers already running as I shuffled into a stall and hung my robe. It was finals week after all, and I probably wasn't the only one on my floor who had just pulled an all-nighter. Still rubbing my eyes, I turned on the shower knob 3/4 of the way around and jolted awake as a spray of freezing water hit me head-on. I stood there for a few shivering minutes, shifting my weight uncomfortably and waiting for the water to warm up. But it didn't change, even when I turned the knob to the hottest setting. The hot water must be used up for this floor, I thought, with a half-hearted swell of admiration for my unknown floormate, who was showering anyway in the cold water. I turned my shower back off, but as I walked out of my stall, shrugging my bathrobe back into place, I noticed that all the shower curtains were open, the shower on the end empty, was spouting a tepid stream of water onto the floor. So no hot water because someone was stupid enough to leave without turning their shower off. My annoyance fueled my determination to get clean. I adjusted my robe and climbed one story up to the 3rd floor, trying not to think too hard about what I was actually doing. Everyone in the dorm had a key to specific to their floor so that we could only get into one shower room. But as I had hoped, the 3rd floor was unlocked. This was a stupid move on the campus's security's part. I observed as I went inside to see mirrors smashed and walls crisscrossed with graffiti, but either way it benefited me. I was doubtful that this floor would actually have hot water, or even any water at all, but it was worth a try. I went into a stall and hopefully turned the knob towards hot. There was an awful screeching noise from inside the walls, which I chalked up from the moving of old rusted and underused pipes, but then there was a gush of water from the showerhead. Surprised, I hurriedly jumped out of my bathrobe and hung it on a hook on the wall, though not quickly enough to keep from being splattered with water, which was bittingly cold and orange with rust. As I waited, the rust color faded out and disappeared down the drain, as the water temperature rose to an almost warm that was acceptable, if not pleasant. I'm not going to lie, I was creeped out in there. Not terrified. I hadn't believed in ghosts since I was 5, but definitely creeped out. There was a smell of something dull and metallic in there, something old and festering. The plumbing in here must have fallen to crap. It's gotta be where the smell is from, I reasoned, though a voice at the back of my mind whispered, blood. I decided to finish my shower as quickly as possible and then get out of there. I was feeling better, though. By the time I finished washing my hair and skin, the weather was finally starting to warm up, and I felt like wearing shorts today, so why not spend an extra few minutes shaving my legs? Anyway, I was almost done with my paper, and my first class in the morning wasn't for another 2 hours, and the only vaguely scary thing that had happened so far was the faint scraping sound coming from the floor drain. Again, I chalked it up to the rusty plumbing. As I was shaving, I started thinking about finals coming up, about how badly I wanted to get straight A's, and how some of my grades were right on the borderline. I guess not concentrating was what caused me to cut myself. It was just a little nick, and definitely nothing I wasn't used to, but the unexpected twinge of pain made me drop my razor. It skittered across the slippery tiles as I bent to pick it up, I noticed something. There was something caught in the drain. It didn't look like a hairball or an earring someone had dropped. It was something else. It was about the size of a small fist, child-sized, and it was pale white, webbed with hair-thin black lines. I thought it might be a marble, or maybe some kind of stone. In a moment of curiosity and what I can only guess was stress-fueled stupidity, I knelt down and started to pry the grate off the drain. I thought the thing was maybe some sort of brooch or necklace that someone had dropped in there. It was really stupid of me. Even as I pried the grate off the open hole of the drain, I could already see the thing inside starting to move. I tossed the grate aside with a feeling of triumph, and I saw the pale thing begin to rise up towards me. It seemed to be writhing with a force of its own, and I thought I could see the thin protrusions below its surface, almost like bones. How? With a growing sense of fear rolling in my stomach, I stood up and backed away a couple of steps. But the sheer unwillingness to believe in a stupid ghost story kept me rooted in the spot. As the thing reached the top of the drain hole, it somehow unfurled. I don't know how else to describe it. 4 spindly protrusions curled outwards from the top of it, revealing a flat underbelly covered with oily, purple sores. One side was sticky, where something that looked like grayish pus coming from the end of the knobby stump, where there should have been a thumb. I recoiled as I realized this thing was a hand. The palm wasn't much bigger than a toddler, but each of the remaining fingers had to be at least 6 inches long, with bulging knuckles and at the end of each one a fingernail. Actually, claw might be a better word for them. The one on the little finger was broken off at the base, leaving only a few jagged fragments lodged in the gooey nail bed, but the others added another 3 inches in length to the finger. They hooked inward grotesquely, and the edges glinted in the rusty water pooling around the drain. They looked razor sharp. Now, by the time it took me to observe all this, I didn't really care anymore about how childish it was to believe in ghost stories, or how this might be my imagination blowing some easily explained thing out of proportion, and even that I was completely naked with one leg still smeared with shaving cream. I was getting out of there. I started to scramble backwards. One hand reached out behind me to yank open the shower curtain, but the tiles were slick and I didn't manage to back up more than a couple of steps before my butt hit the floor. As I fell, one of my ankles brushed the palm of the hand. It felt clammy and soft, like something left too long in the back of a fridge. The fingers twitched at the contact. I flipped over onto my hands and knees, thinking I would crawl out, but as I tried to shuffle away, I felt the long fingers wrap around my ankle. A jolt of pain went up my leg as I felt the claws bite into me. I looked back to see several inches of the arm now outside the drain and still rising slowly, millimeter by millimeter, out of the floor. I could see the outlines of warped bones and tendons beneath the sagging skin, and at the very beginning of the knobby elbow at the other end. The hand was still grasping my ankle, trickles of blood dripping down from where the claws pressed into my skin. I tried to pull my leg back towards my body, but the thing's grip only tightened. I felt a sickening scraping sensation and another bolt of pain as the claws met the bone of my leg. And the screeching noise was back, and the arm was still rising slowly out of the drain. It was my roommate that saved me, her and that early cafe shift she hated so much. She said she found it strange when she woke up at dawn to find me gone, but my laptop still on and opened to my almost finished essay mid-paragraph even. Also absent were my bathrobe and basket of shampoo and the other shower supplies we shared, but she didn't hear any water running in the second floor shower room, so she followed a hunch. She checked the one on the 3rd floor. Paramedics said that I'd probably been unconscious for 20 minutes or so. I had lost a lot of blood. When they found me, I had a series of gashes, all the way from my ankle to my hip on my left leg, and up to my knee on the right. Some of the cuts were shallow, but most of them were deep and jagged. The worst of it was in the area of my left ankle. The doctor spent hours stitching me up. They asked me about my history of illegal drug use and mental illness, and I told them truthfully that I had neither. They asked me if I was sure about it 10 times. Then a psychiatrist came to talk to me. I was more than a little bit hopped up on pain meds, but even so, it took me a few days to let my guard down enough to ask my psychiatrist about the hand. She said that nothing out of the ordinary had been in the shower room when they found me, just me naked and bleeding on the floor. She said that the disturbing hallucinations were a common symptom of sleep deprivation. But then, how did I get all those cuts? I asked. She didn't sugarcoat things. I'll give her that. You did it yourself, hon. You were stressed and you were tired, and you're not the first college student to become unstable during finals week. Like I said, I'm starting to believe her about a hallucination, but I know I wasn't the one who gave me those cuts. There wasn't anything sharp enough or big enough to slice me open like that. Not in my showers, not in my room, nowhere in the vicinity. They thought I might have taken apart my razor. When I asked my roommate, she said she saw it laying beside me, exactly where I dropped it, completely intact. Which is why I want to put this out for the people to see. I know that what I remember happening makes no sense and shouldn't be possible, but I just wouldn't feel right staying quiet about it. I wanted people to know. I don't think that girl killed herself in the shower last year. I think something else did.